Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Chris Allen here on the SAM channel. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, all sponsored by Ace Hardware Marketplace. Yeah, we've got an active weather day ahead of us. Right now, it's not very active here, but I went ahead and went into severe weather mode just because that threat is there and will be with us into the evening hours. And I think that's when it's going to be the most active. You see your heads up down at the bottom of your screen with the crawl that kind of encapsulates everything that I'm about to talk about. So if you don't have time to watch the entire video, there's your summation about what's going on. Let's first of all check the radar at 5 a.m. as I record this podcast. And you can see that well, there's a little bit of light shower activity, but the attention goes back to our west where we're seeing these already severe thunderstorm warnings. And there was already a tornado that went through parts of southwestern Missouri this morning, just about an hour ago. All of this is moving off to the north and east. What we're seeing over southern Kentucky is just maybe a sprinkle or two, but I think for the most part, we're going to start out dry and it's going to be a warm, breezy day, again, like yesterday. And any shower activity that comes our way this morning or through the first part of the day, I think is going to be rather general. I think it's going to be more into the afternoon and evening hours before we begin to see some really strong activity as far as thunderstorms and the threat of severe weather, and the potential even for a few tornadoes. So this is going to be one of those days we're really going to have to watch what happens and monitor it very closely. In fact, let's go to what the Weather Service is saying about all this. And this is the latest updated maps from the National Weather Service out of Louisville. And as you can see, we're still in that level 3 orange enhanced risk for severe weather, especially this afternoon. Damaging straight line winds, the main threat, but an isolated tornado is certainly possible. You see the confidence level there to the bottom left hand side of that graphic. You see the tornado threat is somewhere between low and medium. Hail threat, low and medium. The wind threat is the highest. As you might expect, with every storm we've had so far through the month of March, wind has been the primary damaging threat. So gusty winds, even outside of thunderstorms, 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gust. Higher gusts could be possible if we get a severe thunderstorm. Severe thunderstorms classified as 58 mile per hour winds or higher. So it is possible that we'll have more power outages, more straight line wind damage potential than anything else, but still be on guard for the possibility of some tornadoes because that is a real threat over parts of the area. Now, speaking of threats and the timing, somewhat adjusted from the graphic that I sent out last night. As you can see here for the I-65 corridor, which is where we live here in southern Kentucky, it's going to be more of well, this is showing Eastern time, so let's back that up an hour and go 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. I think that's going to be our window of highest activity and highest severe weather threat. So 3 to 8, give or take an hour or two on either side of that. We may see a few scattered showers or an isolated shower this morning, like you saw on radar. But because of the slow movement of the system, this thing is going to look like it's really coming into western Kentucky by late morning into midday. And you may think, well, this is going to be through here by the time we get into the afternoon. But actually, it's going to slow down. And that's where we're going to get this rain that's going to go over the same areas for a couple of hours, and that could increase maybe a minor flooding threat that we'll also have to watch. But we could see multiple rounds of showers and thunderstorms and that severe weather. And this whole time, the winds are going to be blowing, and that's going to be problematic. So there's your window of the greatest severe weather threat and the most active weather, give or take around 3 o'clock, mid afternoon to early or late afternoon into this evening, and then it's going to move east. So confidence in that timing, as you see here, is in the medium category, and we'll just see what develops as we go through the day. Most of what we're looking at this morning is not going to be severe, so that's good news. Although there could be, a renegade shower or thunderstorm here and there that reaches severe thresholds, but I think most of this is going to be in the afternoon. Heavy rain threat, as I mentioned, not just for today, but also tonight. That slow movement of that system that I told you about is going to keep these showers and thunderstorms running over the same piece of real estate. And it's going to take, several hours for this thing to get through our area. So, 1 to 2 inches of rain, maybe even more than 2 inches of rain, certainly possible in this slight risk area. And this is a slight risk for heavy rainfall and flash flooding. This is not a slight risk for severe. This has to do with flooding this yellow shaded area. So the confidence in flash flooding is in the medium, well, almost in the medium high category. So that tells me that we are, with the slow movement of the system, we are going to get some very heavy rainfall. I think this is going to come in two modes. We'll have, sort of dry, breezy, warm weather this morning with a few showers, and then we'll see a window this afternoon ahead of the front of severe weather threat. Then it goes into more of a heavy rain event. As I mentioned yesterday, I was thinking that's the way this is going to progress, and it looks like this is the way it's going to play out. So you'll get a window this afternoon of the severe weather threat, and then it will quickly shift over to a heavy rain event. And then after the severe weather has moved on. So here are the gusty winds are a given wind advisory for the entire area. No one is going to be out of the threat of gusty winds. It's been that way all March. So we get our wind advisory that's up right now. Southwest winds 20 to 25, gust up to 45, 50. And if we get a severe thunderstorm, it could be in excess of 60 miles per hour. So, yeah, some power outages are going to be probably a given, considering the winds that are going to be with us today. So we are now past, as far as storm planning, a few days out. The day before, that was yesterday. Now we're in the day of. So, keep your weather radios turned on, keep your phones, tablets, all that charged up just in case you lose power. And of course, know where to go if a warning is issued and you need to get to shelter pretty quickly. I don't think this is going to be a tornado outbreak for us. It may be further west, but I do anticipate that line of more tornadic storms to weaken as it slowly moves off to the east. And that's where it's going to shift modes from being a severe weather threat and a tornado threat into a heavy rain event as we get on into tonight. But still, nonetheless, don't let your guard down. Don't assume that we're going to be out of the woods just because I said that, because there's still plenty of available moisture. There's still plenty of available energy, and I'm about to show you that right now on the model map. So let's take a look and inspect what's going on. Here's the current picture with you've got these clusters of thunderstorms that are over southeast Missouri, southern Illinois. There have already been some warnings with this, even at least one tornado that has done damage in parts of southeastern Missouri and into northern Arkansas. Then you've got the main line back to the west. This is the actual cold front. So these two are going to come together uh, as this second line that you see back here further west catches up with this activity out ahead of it as we get this surge, this low level jet very active. And there's a lot of wind shear out there. That's where the winds change altitude and change speed with height. You get a lot of wind shear, and you get winds from the surface going one direction, you get upper winds going another direction, and that causes an overall spin in the atmosphere. And that's what's going on. This is a very classic spring severe weather setup for our area, and this is something that we will continue to watch. So here we go through the day. Notice we stay mainly dry. There could be that renegade shower that does pop up, but for the most part, I think we're just going to be warm and breezy through much of the day. And then the main event will start. Here we go into 20 UTC. That's going to be about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That window that I told you, this is when we're going to see these little, notice here, little Boeing segments. As that line comes together, there's several right there along that front. And each one of these little Boeing segments indicates winds that are being transported down from these thunderstorms, from that line of storms down to the ground and then pushing out in one direction. That's your damaging straight line wind. And I think that's more of a threat than the tornadoes may be. Tornadoes possible along any of these little kinks, you're going to have a possibility of a brief spin, but we're not talking long track tornadoes. We're not talking December 10th, 21 type tornadoes. This would be brief. These would be maybe rain wrapped. This would be just something that's maybe on the lower end of the scale if anything does develop. I mean, a tornado is a tornado. It's going to do damage, whether it's small and weak or whether it's big. Somebody's going to get something out of it. But more so, I think we're going to talk about these pushes out against these kinks in this line starting about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon that are going to be potentially damaging straight line winds. I think that's going to be our number one threat as we get into the afternoon. So let's keep going. Let's get into this evening. Notice how the rains just linger. Look at this. They just keep on coming in that flow with the jet stream being very active. Lots of Gulf of Mexico moisture. All of that. I mean, you can step outside right now here at 10 after 5 in the morning, and it's humid. It's a very humid atmosphere, and the wind's already blowing this morning. So, perfect setup here. Juicy air mass that is going to be conducive to keeping. Look at that. This is, we're looking at 4Z. This is going to be 11 o'clock, close to midnight tonight. And the rain is still coming down. And that's going to be problematic in that some of the creeks and the rivers and streams that are already up are going to get another inch or two. Look, that just keeps coming. I think this is really going to be something that has not been talked about that much, but could be a concern for us in southern Kentucky, and that is some minor flooding. And the waters are going to go up overnight. And here we are, 9Z tomorrow, and that's 4 a.m. Around this time tomorrow morning, it is still going to be raining. And that moisture flow is going to be here. The severe weather threat will be gone, but we're still going to get a lot of rain. And this rain is not going to pull out of here until you see right there, 1600. That's what, noon? About 11 a.m., noon tomorrow. We finally get a break, but it's the slow movement of this system that is going to keep that rain in here. And finally, the cold front comes through. and we relax the rainfall, and the severe weather threat will have been gone by then. The severe weather threat's not going to last that long. It'll be that probably short window that I told you about coming after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just about for the drive home. We'll get this surge of severe weather, maybe some warnings, and then it will transfer over to a different mode, heavy rain mode, lots of rain, heavy rain overnight, rumbles of thunder, that kind of a deal. But then the severe weather threat will be pretty much over with. Is there enough energy for severe weather? Yes. This is something I rarely show, but I'm going to show you. It's called the CAPE. You hear me talk about it often, about available energy for these storms, and we certainly have that. Here is the current picture. The best CAPE right now, these darker shaded purples, is where the best CAPE is going on, but we have some here even this morning. But let's advance this, and I'll show you how the available energy ramps up slowly but surely into the afternoon. There's the front. We even get a little break, a little dry slot you see right there in the middle of the day. That could be where we see the rain taper off for a little while and then it comes back with the arrival of the front. But look at all this available CAPE south of us. Some of that with the lower level jet gets transferred to the north, and you'll see over time there's still available energy to push off some more thunderstorms until we get into late tonight. So, yeah, the convective available potential energy, or CAPE, the acronym CAPE, is there for some rough thunderstorms, whether it's still there in enough time for us to have the atmosphere recover for a time this afternoon so that we see severe weather and tornadoes. The spin is already there, so we'll just have to see if it actually happens. Here's a look at the QPF. This is what we call the quantitative precipitation forecast, and you see that line. You can see how this is stretching right up into southern Kentucky. Red, that dark red on the scale here is 2.5, maybe even almost 3 inches of rain. So, yes, we're right in that corridor for heavy rainfall, and that's why I believe, because of the slow movement of this front, there's going to be a shorter window for severe weather, a bigger window for heavy rain and potential flooding as we get into tonight. So once we're past that severe weather threat, uh, then we're done as far as severe weather, but then the rain is going to be with us pretty much all night long into tomorrow morning. Okay, normally I show this first, but I wanted to get the severe weather stuff out of the way. Here's the 10-day blender. We're looking at 82 today. What did we hit yesterday? 83? Something like that? Wait a minute, let me look real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't have that. 84. 84 was our high yesterday, 17 degrees above the average for this time of the year. 84. That was only 2 degrees shy of the record of 86, set back in one of the hottest years on record, 1934. So it's been a long time, but we came close to a record yesterday. Today, 82. Then look, 55 tomorrow. 55. You know something's up, especially this time of the year when we go from 82 to 55. That's big. That's a big change. That's a shock to the to the atmosphere, pretty much. The good news is we're far enough away from the main low, which is up in the Great Lakes, to be away from the worst of the severe weather. But we still have the parameters set up for some severe weather for us, but that's a big change. But we look how we stair step here from tomorrow and then going all the way into next week, the weekend, and next week, 60s, 70s, back into the 80s by next weekend. So whatever cool down we get, it's going to be temporary, and then we recover pretty nicely and go right back into spring and almost summer-like weather. Yesterday felt like summer for sure. Here's a look at the Kentucky mesonet real quick, just to show you the winds are already up this morning. These are gusts right now coming up out of the south, 20 to 25 miles per hour, close to 30 now, back into western Kentucky. And these winds are going to pick up even more as we go through the day. Currently, temperatures, look, we're in the 70s. That's pretty amazing. Yesterday was the hottest day of the year so far for 2023. That 84 degrees, warmest day so far. Today is going to be close, but look at this. We're in the almost mid 70s this morning, and you can feel the humid air. I've not used the word humid yet this year, but it's humid out there this morning, which means there's a lot of moisture in the air, and it's ready. It's ready to do something. I think that's what's going to help. Not just that short window of severe weather, but the bigger window for heavy rain. All that moisture really going to set the stage for some heavy rain tonight. Here's a quick look at the maps. The big setup here, severe weather threat. There's your front. There's your tilted, occluded low pressure systems really wreaking havoc up here in the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. Severe weather threats everywhere south of that, including us. You see us in the red. That's because of the level 3 enhanced risk. Tornadoes are not a guarantee, but it's certainly on the table. Wind damage, I think, is going to be number one. Then, as you see this evening, this turns into more of a heavy rain event with minor flooding possible. And look, it's still here tomorrow morning, just barely moving out of the Bowling Green area by 1 o'clock in the morning. Here we go, midday tomorrow, still raining. And then finally, by tomorrow afternoon, I don't think we'll see much in the way of sun. It's still going to be cloudy. Then it's going to be much cooler, as you saw, in the 50s tomorrow as this thing finally moves on out. Here we go, Saturday into Sunday. There may be a little backlash moisture here. This is not anything to worry about as we get into Monday. And then there you go. It just kind of fizzles out. But again, as it says at the bottom of your screen with the crawl, heads up, keep your weather radios turned on, keep your phones, your devices plugged in and charged throughout the day in case you lose power later with that small window of severe weather. I really think it's going to be a small window, but enough of a window, wind damage potential, maybe a tornado potential are your biggest threats at first. And then later on this evening, you switch over to the bigger threat, which is going to be, I just believe it's going to be heavy rain is going to be the bigger threat specifically for Southern Kentucky and the Sam listening area. So be prepared for that. In the meantime, I'm going to head to Sam 100.7. You can count on us for instant weather bulletins whenever they come out. We will interrupt music programming on Sam on your radio with the bulletins. You'll hear them live. I will be here or at the station, one of the other places I'm set up just like this to go live if we start getting tornado warnings and things like that. So you can count on that whenever that happens. Otherwise, have a great Wednesday. Thank you for watching. God bless. And I'll see you on the radio.